You're listening to Puma Podcast.
Our country is a young country. No, the average age of Filipinos, I think, is still about 24 or a little less than 24 years old. So makikita mo na any problem of the youth is a problem of the Philippines. And kung may pagkilos yung kabataan natin, kumikilos yung buong bansa. So in many ways, you can look at the youth as a sector, but if you really look at it demographically, you can say that this is the main sector of our country. Kahit mas maiingay yung ibang mga sektor or mas napapaboran, yung youth sector by the sheer number.
Hi, you're listening to Teka Teka. Today, you'll be hearing the first part of Season 2 of Balangkas ng Bukas, a special series powered by Puma Podcast, covering stories of major policy reform. Just 10 years ago, the Sangguniang Kabataan, the most prominent youth council in the country, was on the brink of collapse. What was supposed to be an avenue for young people to directly participate in local politics and raise issues that mattered to them had devolved into a helpful tool for political dynasties. But things changed in 2015. Keep listening to hear that story straight from the people who were there.
I'm Adrian Nisperos, a development worker and a youth empowerment advocate.
And I'm Macy Joven, a journalist and an ordinary citizen who's part of the Katipunan ng Kabataan or the youth voters of a barangay. And this is Season 2 of
Balangkas ng Bukas, Stories of Major Policy Reforms. Isang podcast ng Youth Leadership for Democracy o YouthLED, a project of the United States Agency for International Development and the Asia Foundation, powered by Puma Podcast.
In this podcast, we look at how we won the rights, freedoms, and privileges we have now. At babalikan natin ang lahat ng pinagdaanan natin para mabuo ang mga mahahalagang polisiyang nagbibigay ginhawa sa buhay nating mga Pilipino.
Titingnan natin kung paano nangyayari ang reforma at ang papel ng kabataan sa prosesong ito. In this season, we'll talk about the SK Reform Act of 2015 and what led to it, as well as the ways in which the youth can participate in public policy through initiatives like Project Citizen.
Today, let's lay the groundwork for youth participation and governance and take a closer look at what led to the SK reform. And who better to explain these than one of our country's long-standing youth champions? Let's welcome our first guest, former Senator Bam Aquino.
Hi, I am former Senator Bam Aquino, and I was one of the authors and co-sponsor of the SK Reform Act.
Ayan. So, umpisahan po natin sa question na out of all the different sectors that you can champion as a government official, bakit nyo po napili to focus on the youth?
I guess yung background ko rin kasi as a youth leader, I mean, I got my start in governance and public service in the student movement. And then for a few years, I was in the National Youth Commission. So malapit na malapit talaga sa akin ang kabataan. When I won in 2013, I was the youngest senator at 36. Of course, 35 yung age limit for senators. No? So having that background and at the same time having that age, parang automatically youth yung focus area mo. They usually allow the younger senators to work on that committee as well. So na-request ko yung committee on youth early on, and that's also why we were able to build on those reforms. No, eventually I would get the education committee, which is another committee that deals a lot with young people. So that's why. Now, if you look at it demographically, our country is a young country. No, the average age of Filipinos, I think, is still about 24 or a little less than 24 years old. So makikita mo na any problem of the youth is a problem of the Philippines. And kung may pagkilos yung kabataan natin, kumikilos yung buong bansa. So in many ways, you can look at the youth as a sector, but if you really look at it demographically, you can say that this is the main sector of our country. Kahit mas maiingay yung ibang mga sektor or mas napapaboran, yung youth sector by the sheer number. And if you include yung below 18 or below 15, if you want to be technical about it, that's more than 50% of the Filipino people, yung 0 to 30 or 0 to 35. So any concern, any youth concern is a main concern of the Philippines. No? And yung SK Reform Act, marami sa mga panukala dyan, pinaglaban na namin yan when I was still in the National Youth Commission and I was 22 years old. No? So, kumbaga, it's been a long time coming.
Sa perspective niyo po, how important is public policy as an approach to solving community problems? And siguro later on, dahil marami ring mga kabataan nga ngayon na nagiging active sa governance processes, ano naman po yung role nila dun sa pag-shape ng public policies?
Yeah, well, I guess it goes both ways, no? So, public policy shapes what's happening on the ground, but definitely what's happening on the ground should shape public policy. Yung other part of that loop, yung nagkukulang. Kumbaga, all laws will affect our people. Kasi batas siya eh. Wala kang choice kung hindi sundan, di ba? So, Free College Act, which we passed in our second half of our term, milyon-milyon yung nakinabang dyan, di ba? Free lunch sa DepEd schools, no? Maraming kabataan ang makikinabang dyan. So, the laws will always affect the community. Yung mas concern ko as a legislator is that yung on-the-ground experience, that should inform public policy. And there are times kung hindi magaling yung legislator, hindi magaling yung team niya, or hindi siya nagko-consult ng maayos, gumagawa ng mga batas based on theory, based on other experiences, other countries' experiences which may not be applicable to us, based on ideology which may not even be applicable anymore. Hindi siya nai-inform ng what's actually happening in the community. So, if you ask me, I'm more worried about the second part of the feedback loop, which is what's happening on the ground should affect our policy. No? When we were doing the Free College Act, marami mga provisions doon na hango yun sa actual experience ng mga bata. So what do I mean? The general idea was gawin nating libre yung college pagdating sa SUCs.
SUCs stands for State Universities and Colleges, or simply put, public colleges.
Sa kakaikot namin, ang rabing lumabas. Unang-una, maraming mga kabataan na nahihirapan to afford na nasa private school rin. So when we first passed the law, there was a counterpart allocation to students at a certain income level in the private schools. So hindi namin malalaman yun kung hindi kami umikot at lumapit yung mga estudyante sa mga private schools at nagsabi, Senator, wala namang SUC dito sa lugar namin eh. Yung SUC namin napakalayo. Ang meron kami dito mga private schools. And in our private schools, 80 to 90% are also students who cannot afford tuition. So that's one. Another one, during the deliberations of the Free College Act, gusto ng mga ibang senador na every year nag-a-apply yung mga estudyante. They go through an application every year. And every year, may assessment, much like the old system sa UP. And one, by crunching the numbers, we found out that just implementing that program would already cost almost like 100 million pesos. So, ipasok mo na lang sa scholarship kesa sa gawin mo yung isang programa na napakamahal. And most importantly, yung binabanggit ng mga estudyante sa amin, Sir, kung every year kami mag-a-apply, ang ending po niyan, palakasan, pasipsipan, and letters from the congressman and mayor and the senator na please pakibigyan ng scholarship ang taong ito and magugulo na naman yung meritocracy. So in the end, we stuck to our guns and said, hindi, basta naka-enroll ka, nakapasok ka sa entrance exam ng SUC, 4 years ka ng libre. To take away all of those possible problems. And I think we would have created more problems kung every year kailangan mag-apply ng lahat ng mga kabataan na 95% naman, alam mo naman pasok rin sa programa, di ba? So hindi namin magagawa yon kung hindi kami nagkonsulta. If we came to it with just a general idea and stock knowledge without really knowing what's happening on the ground, the law would be very different.
In the same way na lumalapit ang gobyerno sa kanyang constituents, meron ding institusyon na pwedeng lapitan ng mga kabataan to voice out their concerns and issues. At iyan ang Sangguniang Kabataan. So, in your perspective, Senator Bam, ano ba yung papel na ginagampanan po ng Sangguniang Kabataan in terms of promoting or advocating for youth development and youth empowerment? And siguro, having worked in this sector for a long time, ano ba yung mga perennial challenges ng institusyon na ito?
Napakarami, no? Napakarami ng challenges niya. Even the current SK now will tell you na maraming challenges talaga. But if you look at the genesis of the SK, that actually goes back pa to the KB times, di ba? So there was initially Kabataang Barangay. So even, before the EDSA revolution, during the Marcos time, there was already a recognition that the youth had a place in terms of governance, especially at the barangay and city municipality level. Meron siyang lugar doon. Maging boses ng kabataan, mag-implement ng mga proyekto para sa mga kabataan, and of course, when it came to the SK time, mag-handle ng pondo para sa kabataan. That in itself is already a big challenge kasi yon, constant yung debate dyan sa barangay. Will the SKs be able to decide on their own for the budget for the youth? And I've been on the record saying, and we put it in the SK Reform Act, ni-reiterate namin na dapat yung Sangguniang Kabataan should have the power to decide kung saan magagamit yung pondong nakalaan, which is 10% of the budget. Of course, in reality, every peso counts sa mga barangay. So, pinagdidebatihan yan. Sometimes may intimidation yan. But of course, the best barangay captains will allow the SK to determine what to do with that money and trust young people. So, I think klaro naman yung intensyon. Bigyan ng espasyo yung mga kabataan pagdating sa paglilingkod, maging boses ng sektor na ito at mag-implement ng mga proyektong makakatulong sa mga kabataan depending on the needs of the particular area. So, kung sa lugar, ang assessment, and that's part of the process ng SK, mag-assess ka kung ano yung mga problema. If it's education, then you put up programs that can support education or employment. For a long time, it was about drugs, no? So there are different programs on drugs. More popular would be sports. Less popular, but I think more effective would be peer counseling. Iba-iba yan. And through the years, there would be best practices also. Ano yung mga best practices or best programs, most effective programs para sa mga kabataan pagdating sa iba't ibang mga larangan. And I remember nung NYC pa ako, that was one of our output, na parang handbook. Pag ganito yung problema, ito yung mga possible programs na pwedeng gawin. Of course, that's 20 years old, so baka hindi na siya relevant ngayon. Pero even back then, even 20 years ago, may ganung pag-iisip na we need to have better projects, more relevant projects. Wag lang puro paliga, use the money better, wag lang arko or trash cans or uniforms, di ba? I mean, you have to balance out ano yung hinahanap ng mga youth, which are activity-based, and ano yung makakatulong talaga sa kanila pagdating sa specific areas, no, which maybe are more outcome-based, no. So, you gotta find the right mix. Hindi ka pwedeng, sabi ko nga, I was talking to like some SKs a few months ago, wag rin nating smallin yung mga paliga kasi that's what young people wanna do, or a sector of young people, that's what they wanna do. And ngayon nga, hindi lang basketball, may volleyball na rin, may Mobile Legends pa, di ba, esports pa. So, may desire ang mga kabataan for these kinds of activities, dapat suportahan natin. But let's not lose track na maybe the problems are more than just that, di ba?
Adriel, ang ganda ng mga shinare ni Senator Bam sa atin, no? Yung nagustuhan ko doon sa sinabi niya was the importance of the feedback loop, na dapat lumalapit ang gobyerno sa mga kabataan to know their concerns, which will better inform the policies that they need to make. At tayong kabataan din, dapat pinapaalam natin sa kanila kung anong kailangan natin. Kasi in the end, tayo rin naman yung makikinabang, di ba? Na-observe mo rin ba to sa work mo with YouthLed?
Marami tayong nakikitang mga kabataan sa YouthLed Network na may matibay na ugnayan sa kanilang lokal na pamahalaan at sa komunidad. At patuloy silang dumadami, no? Sa iba't ibang paraan din umuusbong yung ganitong pakikipagtulungan gaya ng pagbibigay ng training, paglalabi ng mga polisiya, o kaya pag-endorso ng mga programang pangkabataan sa LGU. So bakit nga ba ni-reform ang SK? Ano yung mga naging barriers at challenges ng SK from its inception until 2015? Let's hear it from our next guest who experienced serving in the Sangguniang Kabataan prior to the reform.
My name is Jomil Serna. I'm from the city of Taguig. Currently, I am a member of the city council of the city government of Taguig. And it's giving Sangguniang Panlungsod. From SK to SP levels yung nangyari sa akin.
So, we know that you served in the SK since 2009. First as a kagawad up until you were elected as SK chairman. So we did a little research and stalking. No? How old were you when you started and what motivated you to join the SK?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Pero thank you for that research, no? Sasabihin ko pa lang sana sa kwento ko, but many would ask why 2009, wala namang eleksyon ng 2009. Truth is, in 2009, there were 10 new barangays in Taguig kung saan nakasama yung barangay ko. So nagkaroon ng plebisito in 2008, and in 2009, nagkaroon ng creation ng mga new barangays in Taguig. Nagkataon na napunta ako sa isang bagong barangay, yung lugar na kung saan ako nakatira, and yung mga opisyales, barangay and SK were just appointed ng mayor back then. So I was appointed as SK Kagawad in 2009. So nung mga panahon na yon, I was very active sa student government. So I was the president of our student government. Na nalaman nung bagong appoint na kapitan na aktibo nga ako sa eskwelahan, no? Mas maraming mga reach ng mga kabataan. And I was fortunate enough to be appointed as one of the SK Kagawads. I was then 15 years old nung nag-start. I'm now 30 years old, so kung susumamuhin 15, half of my life, I've been serving the barangay and the city as a whole now.
Siguro dun sa short time that you were serving as an SK Kagawad, can you tell us, kasi we want to capture, as mentioned before, ano yung itsura ng SK before the reform? So what were your primary responsibilities and the initiatives you focused on nung SK Kagawad ka pa?
So guys, ang SK before was 14 to 17. Ang bata nun. Kung para sa akin, makikita ko sila ngayon, baby pa lang sila. I was a baby back then. I mean, yung baby ba na wala pang discernment ng pagdedesisyon, Kaya noon, ang SK, sabihin ko sa inyo, madaling mautusan, mauto, kumbaga mabilog, itong gawin nyo. Ang nangyayari, the opportunity for them to learn how to lead was very limited kasi ang nangyayari, iba ang magdedesisyon para sa kanila, haharap na lang sila. 15 years old, you're focused on your Pokemons, you're focused on your Super Mario or Plants vs Zombies or whatever, di ba? Yun ang dapat na ginagawa ng mga bata sa ganong edad. At syempre, school, di ba? Yun yung focus mo. Pangalawa dyan, noong mga panahon na yon, hindi mo pa ma-develop yung sense of advocacy mo because ang bata eh. To me, na ilalagay ka sa isang platform na kailangan mong magdesisyon para sa nakararami, magrepresenta sa sangguniang barangay at that age. So, sa akin yun noon? Yung expectation natin for what it was designed for, hindi natin masyadong na-achieve. Second, meron tayong kultura dito sa bansa natin na kapag bata hindi naman pinakikinggan yan. So, malungkot ako sa part na yon na parang meron kaming mga suggestions, pero ang sabi, bata yan, mga yan. Anong magagawa ng 15, 16, 17 years old sa ganitong klaseng plataforma ng paglilingkod? Diba? So parang, what were we for? Diba? Kami ba ay hinalal to become a design or para lang tumalima sa sinasabi ng batas? O nandito kami para maging kapartner ninyo sa development? Parang ganun yung loopholes ng napakabatang mga SK noon. But the truth is, I believe that there were youth leaders like me na nakamasid lang, nakatingin lang, nakikinig, but all of those na pinakikinggan namin at nakikita namin ay naging parte ng development namin as to become who we are today. Part of the activities na yung parang sinasabi ko, sinishare ko sa kanila na importante to sa community natin. Hindi kasi kapag SK talaga paliga, mga ganyan, 'di ba? Papalarong lahi. Yan, hindi kami nagpa-pageant noon kasi feeling namin ang laki ng nagagastos dati for just a one-night event. Sabi ko, sige, in-encourage ko na wag na tayong magpa-pageant, ito na lang gawin natin. You know what we did? Lahat ng mga natutuhan ko noon na mga leadership development program sa loob ng eskwelahan, ginawa namin community-based. So yung mga hindi nag-aaral dun sa school na yon, yung mga private school, in-invite namin sila to join us. Tapos ang in-invite namin ng mga speakers, mga ganyan, yung mga nag-i-speaker sa amin sa eskwelahan. Mga teachers, at saka yung mga resource persons na galing sa mga private organization. So, very fun, guys. I'm telling you, nagkaroon din kami ng network of friends kasi To give you a background, my barangay is the second largest barangay in Taguig. Yung population namin is, during that time in 2013, 12-13, it was 50,000 na. So, yung youth nun, marami yung bilang, di ba? It was part of the core memory that I will never forget, no? Na ako sa sarili ko, from student leader to community youth leader, malaking parte nung ginawa ko sa SK noon as an SK Kagawad back in the old SK days. Parang tanda ko na, old SK days.
Throwback naman to so okay lang yan. Ayan. So kanina you mentioned parang naumpisahan mo na actually yung some of the challenges, no? Like yung maturity ng pagiging SK nung panahon na wala pang reform, no? Medyo hindi pa super developed, no? Yung pagre-discern mo in making decisions for the community, no? Tsaka yung culture na nag-exist na pagkabataan, hindi masyadong papakinggan. Were there any other major problems that you have observed dun sa sistema na gano'n aside from what you mentioned? Meron ka bang personal experience na on that front na na-experience mo na kind of problem?
Oo. Ganito kasi yun. Di ba dati kasi hindi naman hawak ng SK yung budget Ang may hawak niya ang kapitan. Di ba? Tapos, so kami, magsasuggest kami mga kagawad, gagawa kami, ma-meeting kami, ganyan. Sa SK chairman. Tapos, ipopropose pa namin sa sangguniang barangay, sa mga kagawad ng barangay, kay kapitan. Tapos, ang gusto namin gawin na, I remember, was uso kasi nun na ma-replicate namin sana yung yung CNN Hero of the Year, sa Ida Cariton.
Peña, Florida.
Yes, Efren Peña, Florida, sabi namin. Baka pwede, but this time, kasi yung community naman namin, hindi naman siya poorest of the poor, kumbaga. So, ganito na lang, let's encourage the kids na magbasa. Not necessarily to teach them how to read, but to advocate na magbasa. Yun lang. Parang nire-replicate namin doon, apart from yung Cariton ni Efren Peña, Florida, was also yung Klatsisikat, parang ganyan, mga Adarna books. Yan, yung mga short stories na mga alamat, mga ganyan. So yun yung advocacy namin nun. Kaya lang, parang gusto namin nun, Cariton, parang, or if not Cariton, yung sidecar, mga ganyan. Makapakita namin yung brand na SK that we're working on this. Tapos, ang sabi yata, nalala ko sabi sa amin nun, wag na kayong bumili ng padjak or ng ganyan kasi it will cost another. Yung sasakyan na lang ng barangay ang gamitin ninyo. Yung sasakyan ng barangay L300. Paano na kami makakapasok dun sa mga ibang lugar? So, from if I remember that, parang Cariton, sabi, may ganun yung namin yung project namin So, ginawa namin ng iba, sige, SK, sasakyan ng kaalaman, ganun na lang. So, parang disheartened at the same time, kasi sinabi na lang sa amin na parang, wag na kayong bumili kasi dagdag gastos lang to, ganito, ganyan. Diba? I mean, ang ganda sana nung idea ng mga kabataan na gamitin yung padjak kasi para habang umaandar, nakikisakay yung mga bata, ganyan. Kasama namin yung mga youth leaders namin. Pero, hindi nga siya namatira. Pero, naging successful naman. Hindi lang talaga yung kung ano yung gusto namin, yung nasunod. Kasi nga, hindi naman kami may hawak ng budget namin.
Right. So, aside from budget, you mentioned din kanina yung problem about advocacy building, no? Siguro at such a young age, how were you talking with the constituents? No, parang na-mention mo kanina parang may mahirap pa yun at hindi mo pa naiisip. Pero in one way or another, how were you speaking with the community para makapag-develop kayo ng programs ng SK or paano kayo sumasangguni talaga dun sa mga sinaserve yung youth back then?
To give you an honest answer on that, wala kaming sense of yung mga rapid area assessment levels, mga ganyan, nung panahon na yon.
Ang rapid area assessment ay isang tool na maaaring gamitin ng mga youth leaders sa pagsasaliksik ng ugat o root cause ng mga issue sa kanilang komunidad. Gamit ang tool na to, mapapalalim ng mga kabataan yung kanilang pag-uunawa sa mga problema sa kanilang komunidad.
Kasi sa bata na ganon, yung maisip yan di ba? Ang gagawin namin talaga dati is we ask the older people, elderlies. Yan. So, limitado yung nafe-feed din sa amin. Parang ganito parang ang bata kailangan magtanong sa matanda. Si matanda, ang ibibigay niya is yung perception niya ng kabataan nung henerasyon niya. Kaya yung cycle hindi na break. Ang nangyayari, nagiging traditional palagi. Kaya yan paulit-ulit na lang sa pageant, paulit-ulit na lang sa kung anong aktibidad ng mga kabataan. Well, in fact, that was already a good opportunity to go down to your constituents, 'di ba? To the people that you serve. Pero kasi naman kung isipin mo, 15 to 17 kaming mga SK noon. Tapos yung audience namin 15 to 17 din. Na kapareho namin na kulang pa din sa discernment, 'di ba? So saan naman talaga kami noon kukuha ng advice kundi sa mas nakatatanda?
Right. So eto na, pa-transition na tayo dun sa pagpasa ng SK reform. So, ikaw ba, Jomil, did you have any role or any part dun sa pag-advocate for those reforms, especially that you've witnessed firsthand, experienced firsthand yung mga challenges na yun sa SK?
On a national level, syempre wala. Kasi part ako ng barangay. That micro effort that I did in my barangay contributed to the national development of the Sangguniang Kabataan Reform. But back then, nung panahon na madilim na talaga, parang yung bang malabo na ituloy pa yung SK in 2013, siguro it was the right time. Sabi ko, it was the time na i-abolish na ang SK. So sabi ko, baka kami na nga ang last batch, kumbaga. Kasi the image of SK back then was number one. Parang meal, yung gawaan ng mga future trapo. Nandiyan ang anak, mga political dynasties, yan. Kasi kung sino yung anak ni Kapitan, siya ang SK chairman, di ba? Yun yung mga dati na perception about SK. Pagawaan siya ng mga future na hindi naman nila ganun talaga sa puso nila na mag-serve, di ba? So kumbaga, naging for compliance na lang sa local government code ang SK nung mga panahon na yun. Yung micro efforts na ginawa namin noon sa barangay was this. We made sure na kung kami man ang last batch ng SK, we would make an impact, kumbaga. No? That impact is that ang pinakahuling SK na makikilala sana is yung SK na ginawa namin. So, hindi naman kami nakakapagsalita noon directly to the lawmakers. So, the efforts that we did in barangay was that, no? Na ipakita sa kanila na sa iba siguro, sira na ang SK, pero dito sa barangay natin, hindi kami naman papakagad na yun yung maging image ng huling SK. No? And back then, even though I was a kagawad, no, hindi ako yung SK chairman, nagkaroon kami ng healthy relationship within the organization of SK and within the network of the youth in our barangay. Nandun na kami sa point na yun na parang darating yung panahon pagkukwentuhan na lang natin to na naging SK kami, ganyan, without us knowing na babalik din pala yung SK, pero may maganda na ng promise.
So umabot pala sa point na yun, no, na gusto nang i-abolish yung SK, as in completely stop it dahil sa mga naging issue nito?
Oo, alam mo ba, nagkaroon pa nga ng Senate bill to abolish the SK noon dahil di umano the SK is not giving. At dahil sa mga sinabi rin ni Jomil ng mga kritisismo. But there was one group that called for its reform and not its abolition. Na pag-uusapan natin sa next episode. So far, makikita talaga natin na full circle dapat ang public policy making. Sabi nga ni former Senator Bam, di ba? Public policies shape what's happening sa communities. Pero dapat informed din ang public policies sa realidad na nangyayari sa mga komunidad. At ang SK ay isa sa mga plataforma upang marinig ang mga boses ng mga kabataan. Pero hindi rin siya perfect na platform, no? Marami ring challenges na kinakaharap. Kaya rin naman nandyan yung mga reforms upang bigyang solusyon ang mga challenges na to. Ikaw ba, Macy, anong takeaway mo dito?
Ako, nakikita ko na malaki yung potential ng SK given the fact that the youth make up the majority of our population. And sino bang makakaalam ng concerns ng kabataan kundi ang kapwa-kabataan? Pero valid nga yung concern ng marami tungkol sa effectiveness ng SK dahil dun sa mga challenges na nabanggit ni Jomil na siya mismong nag-serve sa SK. Sa nakikita ko, Doon talaga sa requirements at implementation sila dapat mag-improve.
Actually, yung culture din surrounding youth leadership and participation in governance, yun yung something na dapat din mag-shift. Sabi nga ni Jomil, may notion na pagkabataan, di naman mapapakinggan or quote-unquote, wala pang alam. Pero di tayo dapat mawala ng pag-asa kasi may magagawa ang mga kabataan. Sila yung mga lodi nating dapat tularan, di ba?
True.
But before we end, let's listen again to Jomil and Senator Bam's thoughts on the significance of youth leadership in the country.
Alam nyo, yung opportunity na una maging kabahagi ng pamamahala is something that we should be thankful for. Because when you go outside of this country, some youth are not heard. No? But here in the Philippines, we were given a platform to participate and to be heard. Kasi alam nyo, kapag libre kasi sa atin, we tend to take it for granted. So let's not forget that our responsibility as youth, hindi na youth leaders, as youth is to make sure that the future is still aligned to what we are doing now. Ibig kong sabihin, dapat wag nating, or we should be grateful na mayroon tayo mga ganitong klaseng oportunidad right in front of our doors to participate. Apart from that, nung panahon kasi noon nila, hindi ko kino-compare, pero nung panahon nila walang social media. Lahat ng pagkakataon na pwede nating gamitin ngayon para maging kabahagi ay nasa atin na, hawak na natin. Gamitin na natin to sa tama. This is a breakthrough. SK Reform Act of 2015 is a breakthrough. Ang dami niyang ibinibigay na oportunidad para lumago, na maging isang mabuting leader ang kabataan. Gamitin na natin yung oportunidad na yon para maging mabuting kabataan at maging mabuting mamamayan.
The first step is really to show up. So kung hindi ka mag-i-engage, kung hindi ka tatakbo sa SK, hindi ka tatakbo sa student council, hindi ka magpipresenta sa parish pastoral youth council na you want to lead or whatever, it's not gonna happen. Maraming natatakot sa pamumuno because hindi siya madali. You might have failures because that's part of it. May level of pambabatikos and that's also part of it. But I would like to think na marami sa mga kabataan natin do want to see things change. Gusto nila makita yung pagbabago, yung renewal, yung transformation na matagal na nating inaasam, di ba? And it can only begin if they engage. Kung sila mismo gagawin yung hakbang na makilahok sa mga mahihirap, magugulo at komplikadong mga sistema ng pamumuno, di ba? But they can also trust that once they're there will be groups that can support them. Like YouthLED, Pusina namin, some government agencies, schools, no, NGOs, maraming tutulong rin. So even though mahirap yan, may mahahanap ka ring mga kakampi. And I think that's something that can be comforting for young people na nag-aalangan about engaging. Kung meron kang timba na may maduming tubig, ang kailangan mo gawin, palitan mo yung tubig ng mas malinis sa tubig, di ba? So kahit anong gawin mo sa maduming tubig, madumi yan, hirap nang ayusin yan eh. You just have to change it. And because our country is so young, kung bibigyan mo lang ng chance na makilahok, I'm sure titindig yan at makikilahok. So I think my job or our job, my generation's job is to make sure there's space for you. 'Di ba? Bigyan kayo ng espasyo na pumasok, makilahok. Bigyan kayo ng time and resources and support para you can do what you need to do. And your generation needs to show up. 'Di ba? I think that's the best combination, and sa interplay nun, we'll be able to find solutions together, no?
And that was the first episode of Season 2 of Balangkas ng Bukas, Stories of Major Policy Reforms, a podcast by Youth Leadership for Democracy and a project of the United States Agency for International Development and the Asia Foundation, powered by Puma Podcast. We'll be playing the rest of the series on Teka Teka every Thursday, so stay tuned. This episode was written by Adriel Nesperos and co-written and produced by Macy Haven, with editing by Joe Salcedo. The version you heard today was put together with the help of Jill Caro and Anthony Tobias. I'm Bella Perez Rubio. Thanks for listening.